Who really is Medusa Gorgon? Medusa Gorgon is one of the most famous creatures of Greek mythology. She is so popular that even after millennia, her image continues to inspire artists, writers, and filmmakers. But who is she? How did this terrible woman with snakes instead of hair appear? Medusa Gorgon was one of the three Gorgon sisters. Medusa Gorgon's sisters were Euryala and Spheno. The sisters were all daughters of the sea deity Phorkias and his sister Keto. Euryala and Spheno were immortal, while Medusa was the only mortal of the three sisters. According to one myth, Athena turned Medusa and her sisters into monsters after Poseidon possessed Medusa in the goddess's temple. In another version of the myth, Euryala and Spheno themselves decided to become monsters out of compassion for their sister's fate. Gorgons were serpent-haired monsters whose gaze turned men to stone. They were considered spirits of storms and cold winters, symbolizing the elements of water and air. Medusa's sisters were also associated with other mythological creatures, such as the dragon, Ladon, and the cyclops Polyphemus. As a young woman, Medusa was extremely beautiful. With long golden hair flowing over her shoulders and eyes shining brighter than the stars. Many admired her appearance, and it seemed that a happy life was ahead of her. However, fate has ordered otherwise. According to legend, Medusa served as a priestess in the temple of Athena, the patroness of wisdom and war. Here she spent her days in prayer and rituals, devoting herself to serving the great goddess. But one day, Poseidon, ruler of the seas and brother of Zeus, entered the temple. His eyes fell on the beautiful Medusa, and he could not resist her charms. In a fit of passion, Poseidon decided to possess the girl right in the sanctuary of Athena. This act of desecration of the temple provoked the anger of the goddess. Although Poseidon was one of the 12 Olympians and possessed great power, Athena decided to direct her anger not at him, but at Medusa. Perhaps she saw in this case not just an insult to her sanctuary, but also a manifestation of the weakness of human nature, which is subject to passions. Athena therefore decided to punish Medusa severely. Instead of leaving the girl as she was, Athena turned her into a terrifying monster. Medusa's face became so hideous that anyone who dared to look at her was instantly turned to stone. Her once beautiful golden hair turned into writhing snakes. Medusa's skin became covered in scales, making her look like a reptile. Medusa Gorgon became the epitome of horror and destruction, representing the end for all who dared to look into her eyes. Her face was so horrible that the mere contemplation of it led to instant death. Medusa's eyes emitted a deadly stare that instantly turned any living creature to stone, as if forever imprinting the last moment of life in stone. The fear of her was so great that people avoided even saying her name out loud for fear of attracting the attention of this monster. But Medusa's appearance was not the only source of danger. Her mouth was studded with sharp teeth that resembled blades, and her hands ended in long claws that could tear the flesh of her victims in seconds. She was a true predator, ready to mercilessly destroy anyone who dared to stand in her way. However, Medusa's most frightening feature was her hair, which was actually a tangle of living snakes. These snakes moved independently of each other, wriggling and attacking enemies from all sides. Their venomous bites brought unbearable pain, causing the victim to suffer infernal agony until his demise. The poison, penetrating the bloodstream, paralyzed the body, leaving the unfortunate to slowly fade away under its effects. Even after Perseus decapitated Medusa, her head retained its deadly power. The gaze that once turned men to stone continued to work, and Medusa's head remained a dangerous artifact. Perseus used it as a weapon against his enemies, thus demonstrating the power of his trophy. Legends say that even centuries later, Medusa's head retained the ability to turn to stone those who looked upon it, continuing to sow fear among men. Medusa Gorgon really occupies a special place in the pantheon of ancient Greek mythological creatures. Her image symbolizes the deep fears of mankind before the unknown and hidden threats that can lurk in the most unexpected places. The story of Medusa teaches us that appearance is often deceptive, and behind the attractive shell can hide something dark and dangerous. In the myths, Medusa is originally portrayed as a beautiful woman, but her pride and arrogance led to unfortunate events. According to one version of the myth, she was born to the sea deities Phorkias and Keto, and was renowned for her extraordinary beauty. Nevertheless, her narcissism and aspiration to the ideal turned out to be a tragedy. In some versions of the myth, Medusa dares to compare herself to Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, thus provoking the fury of this powerful goddess. Medusa thus serves as a reminder that overconfidence, hubris, and disregard for laws can lead to disastrous consequences. Her story emphasizes the importance of modesty and respect for higher powers, be they gods or moral principles. In this sense, Medusa becomes not just a monster, but a metaphor for human nature, which can destroy itself through its own weaknesses and ambitions. This legend also reminds us that the outward trappings of beauty and strength can be temporary and illusory. True strength and wisdom lie in the ability to recognize one's limits and respect the world around us, rather than striving for superiority at all costs. Perseus's feat with Medusa Gorgon is one of the key moments of the ancient Greek epic. This episode demonstrates not only the heroism and ingenuity of the main character, but also the symbolic significance of using Medusa's head after her defeat. Perseus, son of Zeus and Danae, was given a task by King Polydectes to destroy Medusa and bring her head. This seemed an impossible task, for Medusa had the power to turn anyone who looked directly at her into stone. But Perseus was no ordinary man, and thanks to the help of the gods, he was able to tackle this difficult mission. To begin, Perseus sought the help of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. She gave the hero a shiny bronze shield that reflected everything in his field of vision. With this shield, Perseus could watch Medusa, seeing her reflection without risking meeting her direct gaze. This allowed him to attack Medusa without putting himself in danger. When Perseus saw Medusa sleeping, he cautiously approached her, holding in front of him the shiny bronze shield he had received from Athena. The shield reflected whatever was in front of him, allowing Perseus to see Medusa without looking directly at her. The hero watched the monster's reflection carefully, trying to pinpoint the exact moment to strike. Perseus swung his sharp sword and struck a powerful blow, severing Medusa's head. The blood that spurted from the wound was soaked in magical essence, and two new creatures immediately began to emerge from it. However, Perseus was not distracted by this sight. Quickly catching Medusa's head and placing it in a special sack provided by Hermes. This sack was designed so that no one would be harmed by Medusa's sight, even after it was destroyed. Now, with such a powerful weapon at his disposal, Perseus went onward, continuing his adventures. At every step he faced new challenges and enemies, but thanks to Medusa's head, He always found a way out of difficult situations. Every time he faced an enemy, Perseus showed him the Gorgon's head, and the enemy was instantly turned into stone. Thus, Perseus became almost invincible, and the fame of his exploits spread far beyond his hometown. Finally, Perseus returned home, hoping for a well-deserved rest. There, however, a new challenge awaited him. King Polydectes, to whom Perseus had promised to bring Medusa's head, continued to persecute his mother, Danaus, trying to force her to marry him against her will. When Perseus learned of this, he decided to act decisively. He came to the palace of Polydectes, where he was celebrating with his retainers. Entering the hall, Perseus took Medusa's head out of his sack and showed it to the crowd. As soon as the king and his retinue saw this horrifying sight, they instantly turned to stone. The statues now standing on the site of the palace became monuments to Polydectes' cruel rule and a testament to how injustice can be punished. Thus Perseus protected his mother and restored justice, demonstrating to the world the strength and wisdom received from the gods. This episode highlights the dual nature of the power symbolized by Medusa's head. On the one hand, it represents danger and destruction, but on the other hand, it can be a powerful tool in the hands of a worthy hero. Perseus used Medusa's head to protect his mother and restore justice, proving that even the most fearsome creature can serve good if it falls into the right hands. After Perseus severed Medusa's head, blood infused with magical properties gushed from her neck. This blood, being imbued with mystical energy, gave birth to legendary creatures, each of which took its unique place in the mythological pantheon. The first to emerge from the blood of Medusa was the winged horse Pegasus. His appearance was marked by a flash of light and sound, as if thunder rumbled in the heavens. Pegasus was an unusually beautiful creature, with snow-white wings glistening in the sunlight. His birth was associated with the swiftness of the wind and the freedom of flight, making him the perfect symbol of swiftness and grace. As soon as Pegasus was born, he soared into the heavens, leaving a trail of sparkling stars behind him. He went straight to the top of Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. There he became the faithful companion of the Muses, inspiring poets and artists. It is believed that it was the hoofbeats of Pegasus that awakened the spring of Hippocrene, from which poets draw inspiration. The water of this spring has special properties that give creative impulse and deep understanding of art. The second creature to emerge from the blood of Medusa was the great warrior Chrysaorus. Unlike Pegasus, Chrysaor did not possess wings, but his physical strength and fighting prowess made him no less impressive. He was tall and muscular, with fiery eyes and a stern expression. Chrysaor was born for battle, and his skill with weapons was incomparable. Legends say that Chrysaor became the father of the three-headed giant Geryon, one of the most dangerous opponents of the heroes of the Greek epic. Chrysaor himself also participated in numerous battles, defending justice and fighting darkness. His name became synonymous with courage and fortitude, and many heroes sought to emulate his example. The birth of these two creatures symbolizes the transformation of evil into good. Although Medusa herself was the embodiment of horror and destruction, her offspring was endowed with positive qualities. Pegasus became a symbol of creative inspiration, and Chrysaor became the embodiment of courage and strength. This shows that even from the darkest source can arise something beautiful and useful. Thus, the children of Medusa Gorgon occupy an important place in Greek mythology, representing examples of how even from the darkest of beginnings can arise light and noble entities. In addition to the winged horse Pegasus and the great warrior Chrysaorus, another famous creature emerged from the blood of Medusa Gorgon, the giant dragon Ledon. Some of the gushing blood fell to the ground, and from it grew a huge dragon named Ledon. Ledon was a huge snake-like creature with many heads, according to various sources, from 7 to 100. Each head of the dragon had the ability to breathe fire, and his roar could be heard for miles around. He guarded the golden apples in the garden of Hesperides, making him an important figure in mythology. Ledon is mentioned in several myths related to the search for the golden apples of Hesperides. Heroes such as Heracles had to pass through Ledon to obtain these magical fruits. In one version of the myth, Heracles manages to defeat the dragon, either with an arrow or, according to other versions, through cunning and magic. Medusa Gorgon remains one of the most memorable and significant figures of Greek mythology. Her story reminds us of the importance of modesty, respect for the laws, and caution when evaluating external qualities. Symbolizing fear, punishment, and power, Medusa Gorgon has continued to inspire artists, writers, and philosophers throughout the ages, remaining an eternal reminder that a person's true nature is not determined by their appearance, but by their actions and choices.